It's December 4th, 2022 in Valencia, Spain. Runners toe the line at one of Europe's fastest marathons. The field's stacked, the course is flat, and the anticipation is electric. Among the elites stands a 23-year-old Kenyan most people haven't heard of. No Olympic medals, no major wins, just a name on a start list: Kelvin Kiptum. By the end of that morning, everyone in the sport would know that name.
Kelvin Kiptum is the winner of the 2022 Trinidad Alfonso Valencia Marathon.
He demolished the field and won the race in 2:01:53, the fastest debut marathon in history and the 7th fastest marathon of all time. Out of nowhere, a new force had arrived, but this wasn't a one-off. What happened next stunned everybody. Just 10 months later, Kiptum broke the world record.
It's a new course record for Kiptum, a new personal best.
And just a few months after that, he was gone. A car crash in early 2024 ended his life.
On Sunday, Kenyan police said Kiptum lost control of his vehicle, veered off the road into a ditch, and hit a tree.
And left the world wondering, what had we just witnessed? Was this a spark, a freak season of brilliance, or the beginning of a once-in-a-century career? In sport, we usually define greatness over time, through medals, seasons, setbacks, and comebacks. Kiptum never got that time. He ran just 3 marathons. He won all of them, and with each race, he ran faster than the last. No athlete in marathon history has ever done what he did. Not this young, not this fast, not with such dominance. So how do we answer the question, was Kelvin Kiptum historically great, or just historically fast?
An amazing effort by Kelvin Kiptum for a new world record.
But what does good actually mean? There are plenty of subjective ways to judge that, and humans often find it hard to separate emotion from fact. But what if we take emotion out of it? When it comes to the best of the best, there are 4 key aspects we can look at. Their performance ceiling. How far ahead they were from the chasing pack, how consistently they produced their best, and how much they evolved over time. Because greatness isn't just about how high you reach, it's about how consistent you are once you get there. Let's start with Kiptum's raw numbers. Apparently Kiptum's first experience of running came as a child when he'd herd his family's cattle, barefoot. He soon started following other runners through forest trails and began formal training in 2013 at just 13 years old. That same year, he ran his first race, finishing 10th in the Eldoret Half Marathon. 6 years later, he made his international debut, finishing 5th at the Lisbon Half Marathon. Then, in 2022, at 23 years old, Kiptum stepped up to enter his first marathon in Valencia. He ran 2:01:53, the fastest rookie marathon ever, and the 7th fastest time on the all-time list. A year later, he made his London Marathon debut and won it in 2:01:25, the 2nd fastest marathon in history. That same year, he ran 2 hours and 35 seconds in Chicago, breaking Eliud Kipchoge's world record by 34 seconds. What made Kiptum so special was that there was no gradual build-up. He arrived already capable of winning races at the highest level. Compare that to Kipchoge, who followed a more traditional route, progressing through the 3,000 and 5,000 before running his first marathon at 28. What made Kiptum unique wasn't just his immediate success, it was his 100% win record. Sprinters usually peak in their 20s, but marathoners? They usually develop later. In Kiptum's case, he was ready from day one, and the gap between him and the rest of the field suggested that win streak could have gone on for years. So what made Kiptum's numbers so abnormal in marathon history? Usually, a marathoner spends years learning how to pace properly, finding the ideal rhythm, learning not to go too hard too soon, and developing endurance for the final stretch. But Kiptum didn't just debut impressively, he improved dramatically on that debut within months. He went from 2:01:53 to 2 hours and 35 seconds. At that level, elite runners usually improve by just a few seconds, and that's over seasons, not months. His rate of improvement was wildly abnormal. Even the way he ran was different. Take Chicago. His final 10K was faster than the standalone 10K times of many elite runners. Most world records are about surviving the last 10K. Kiptum, he attacked it. From the very beginning, he was an aggressive pace setter. Glycogen depletion, lactate buildup, and neuromuscular fatigue, the things that usually slow people down, barely seemed to affect him.
He's crushed the world record, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing finish. Incredible.
Around the 35-kilometre mark, where many runners hit the wall, Kiptum didn't slow. He ran through it like it wasn't even there. And he did all this at just 23 years old. Kiptum reached a level most runners never touch, before his body had even fully matured. While most spend years learning how not to fall apart in the final stretch, Kiptum never needed to learn. He simply didn't fall apart. At the recreational level, the marathon is a simple battle. You versus the clock. But for elites, it's you versus everyone else. And in today's field, everyone else is better than ever. Before 2010, breaking 2:05 was rare. Today, 10 to 15 men do it every year. But it's how Kiptum interacted with this ultra-competitive field that stood out. He didn't sit back and wait for others to fade. He tested the field from the gun, going out fast but within his sustainable range. This forced his rivals to make an impossible choice. Match him and risk burning out, or hold back and risk losing contact. That approach isn't new, but it usually results in fading later in the race. Kiptum didn't fade. He got faster. Between 20 and 30 kilometers, he applied steady pressure. The early explosiveness gave way to something subtler, but still slightly faster than what his competitors could comfortably handle. That constant pressure forced them to spend energy just trying to keep up. It disrupted their rhythm, and it wore down their mental composure. But Kiptum's greatest strength might have come after 30 km. That's where most elites either fade or just hold pace. Kiptum accelerated. He didn't win by waiting for others to make mistakes. He created those mistakes by pushing the field to their limits and beyond. He turned the depth of the modern marathon into his advantage. He didn't outrun the field at the end. He broke it in the middle. Conventional wisdom says there's a right way to run a marathon, and it's been proven again and again by the best. Elite pacing usually follows 3 golden rules. Start conservatively, easing into race pace to preserve glycogen and avoid early fatigue. Run even splits. Ideally, every kilometer is within a few seconds of the target pace. Only accelerate in the final 5 to 7 kilometers, and even then, it's usually just holding on. Break those rules, and you'll usually hit the wall hard. But Kiptum, he ignored all of them. He didn't just start fast, he pushed through the middle, and then he accelerated at the end. It was a pacing strategy that looked like a guaranteed crash and burn. But he didn't crash. He shattered the world record. His mid-race pace should have drained his glycogen stores. His finishing acceleration should have triggered neuromuscular collapse, but it didn't. Why? Because Kiptum's physiology let him handle stress levels that would break almost anyone else. On paper, his pacing strategy was a recipe for disaster. In practice, it was a record-breaking model because he was uniquely capable of surviving it. The marathon is a race designed to punish impatience. Kiptum seemed immune to that punishment.
We've never seen anything like this on the streets of London. Kelvin Kiptum blew the field apart.
We often describe Kiptum as blisteringly fast, but that doesn't tell the full story. Yes, he was fast, but plenty of runners are fast, at least for part of the race. What made Kiptum different was what happened after the 30k mark. That's when the marathon becomes a physiological war zone, a test of fatigue resistance, muscular resilience, lactate build-up, and mental focus. And this is where Kiptum pulled away from even the world's best. His muscles could maintain power output even when microtrauma, those tiny muscle tears that normally slow runners down, started accumulating. He stayed efficient when others lost rhythm. He also had an extraordinary ability to clear lactate and other fatigue-inducing byproducts like hydrogen ions. Most runners slow down not just from pain, but because their muscles literally become less efficient at converting energy. Kiptum? He kept running at world record pace while metabolizing those byproducts, something that goes way beyond just having a high VO2 max. His aerobic capacity was clearly elite, but his ability to stay at 90 to 95% of that threshold without falling apart is what separated him. Then there's mechanical durability. Most runners lose form in the final kilometers. Posture collapses, stride shortens, arms start to flail. Kiptum? He kept his running form efficient, converting fatigue into momentum instead of waste. In summary, his dominance wasn't just about raw speed. It was about elite aerobic power, unmatched fatigue resistance, metabolic efficiency, and mechanical resilience under stress. That combination didn't just let him run fast, it let him run faster when everyone else was falling apart. But here's the big question. Can we really call someone great with just 3 races? Plenty of athletes have had incredible seasons, but real greatness, that usually takes years. It's built through ups and downs, through wins and losses, through adapting, evolving, coming back stronger. Kiptum's story tragically didn't have time for that arc of greatness. 3 races is a tiny sample in elite terms. He didn't compete at an Olympic Games, he didn't run at a World Championship, he never faced a tactically unpredictable championship field with surges, slow starts and race day surprises. He never had to adapt mid-career, change training, fix injuries or battle losses of form. His dominance existed in a perfect window, where preparation, health and opportunity all aligned. We don't know how long it would have lasted, but that doesn't detract from the facts, because what we saw in just those 3 races is impossible to argue with. Each race was better than the last. Each race had negative splits. Each race featured mid and late race acceleration. That level of control, progression and efficiency against the deepest fields in history is rare, even among all-time greats. Yes, the sample is small, but the dominance within it is undeniable. And that brings us to the question that will never be answered. Could Kelvin Kiptum have broken the 2-hour barrier in open competition? Eliud Kipchoge's Ineos 159 challenge showed that sub-2 was possible, but only under perfectly controlled conditions. Closed course, pacers rotating every kilometre, wind reduction, no race day chaos. That wasn't real-world marathon racing. Kiptum was racing in actual marathons, London, Chicago, Valencia, with unpredictable weather, competitive fields, no pacing teams, and tactical uncertainties. And he wasn't just surviving, he was accelerating, he was improving, and he was doing it all within the race format that makes sub-2 so difficult. Physiologically, he had the traits you'd expect in someone who could break that mark: the pacing, the finishing power, the metabolic efficiency. The young age with visible room for growth will never know for sure. But if anyone was going to do it in a real race without the help of a lab, Kiptum might have been the one. Kipchoge proved what was possible.
Eliud Kipchoge. Whoa! On his shoulder. 140.
Kiptum hinted at what might have become normal.
It's a new course record for Kiptum, a new personal best, and the second fastest time ever.
It would be a mistake to call Kelvin Kiptum the greatest marathoner ever, not because he didn't have the talent, but because he didn't have the time. Ultimately, he never got to show us his true potential. He never ran a championship marathon. He never had to adapt across multiple seasons. He never faced setbacks or long-term competition. That part of greatness, the part built on longevity, we'll never get to see. But within the short, brilliant window we did see, he was historically abnormal. He didn't just win races, he shattered our ideas of what was possible. His physiology was exceptional, his strategy was bold, his progression was unprecedented. Kiptum forces us to rethink how we define greatness. Maybe it's not always about medals and longevity. Maybe sometimes greatness is about what's possible, not just what lasted. Kelvin Kiptum didn't get a full career, but in just 3 races, he made the marathon world pause, and what he showed us will be studied for decades.